Hello, friends, and welcome back. So, I just finished watching the very, very excellent HBO series Mare of Easttown, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about the reveal of the killer in the final episode and how, based on the themes of the show, it had actually been telegraphing who the killer was going to be all along, but it didn't actually seem obvious until you actually saw who it was. This is going to be a little bit more of a freewheeling episode than I normally do. I'm on sort of the beginning of a vacation, and I have a very, very labor intensive video coming out next week. So this is just a little loosey goosey. Just kind of wanted to share some of my thoughts. Uh, Obviously, just want to say up front, big spoilers if you have not yet seen Mare of Easttown or if you plan to watch Mare of Easttown. So I won't really go into that. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about my own feelings on the ending and why I feel like it was such a huge success. If you haven't already, you want to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, feel free to do so. Let's talk. So, Mare of Easttown was a show that was, obviously about a lot of things. It was about, kind of small town America, very specifically an area of America that I am very familiar with. I'm a Delco boy myself. I don't really have the thick Delco accent, though it does occasionally slip out on words like when I say bagel. Apparently, I say that weird bagel. Um, but the show kind of was generally about kind of the decay of small town America and how a lot of these towns have kind of been hollowed out, and a lot of people have been left without a lot of purpose and direction as a result of jobs moving out, jobs moving away, and the opioid epidemic and things like that. But even beyond that, the show, to me at least, seemed like it was really about the relationships between parent and child, and then kind of even digging in even deeper than that, it was about the relationship between mothers and sons. Um, if you just think in terms of the relationships that they show you kind of within the show, so you have Mare and her son Kevin, who obviously took his own life. You have Carrie and Drew. Carrie is what was Kevin's girlfriend, and Drew is Mare's grandson. And so in that relationship, you have kind of the mother trying to sort of get control of her life so that she can get her son back, and then Mare kind of serving both as the grandmother and guardian slash also mother of this child. Obviously, Erin, the girl who gets murdered, and her son DJ. The show, I think it's in the pilot episode, it begins with her and the baby in the room, and she's just kind of talking to the baby about, all these cliches about, kind of like, all the things that change inside of you when you have a child, and, how she just can't believe, you could love somebody that much. And again, that's very much one of those, I was trying to find the exact place that the quote was from. There is an expression, and again, I might be paraphrasing or saying it wrong, that says with a lot of films that the end is in the beginning, basically saying that the stuff that you will see in a emotionally satisfying ending is stuff that will have kind of actually been telegraphed to you in a way in the opening, though it's telegraphedness would not have been obvious at the time. And and she's just talking so much about that love between mother and son, and that kind of tells you that is going to be something hugely important through the rest of the show. You have Lori and Ryan, and obviously we'll kind of be getting into that in a little bit. Though technically they were brother and sister, you did have Beth and Freddie Hanlon. Beth had to take over as kind of a de facto parent for Freddie because of just how completely his life had fallen apart from addiction, and and that sort of needing to almost act as a mother to him, was obviously having a really horrible effect on the rest of her life and her marriage. And then lastly, you have Judy and Colin Zabel, R.I.P. That was one where, we didn't get to experience as much of that relationship as we did some of the other ones. But, that was a character where purely from a storytelling standpoint, like, you would think that they could have shown us everything with Zabel without needing to also introduce us to his mother. But again, it played very specifically into the themes of the show. So it would make sense that, that you would see him, that you would see the two of them. What am I talking about? So obviously there's a lot of other, like important mother-daughter relationships. You have Helen and Mare, you have Mare and Siobhan, you have Dawn and Katie Bailey, but most of the like really kind of important major story arcs that are pushing things forward, again, it's you got the mother and son thing. So because of this, when it is revealed that Ryan is the killer, in my opinion, it's not just that it's not just that it feels earned when they have that additional twist. It's this feeling of course it had to be him, because if it had actually been anyone else other than him, it just would not have actually been a satisfying conclusion to the series. Now, I will say this. When at the beginning of the finale, it was, kind of resolved within the first 10 minutes that, that John was the killer, that he had gotten Erin pregnant and she was planning to go public with that information, and that he killed her. That made sense, purely from like a, sure, that's a logical thing to have happened standpoint. But in addition to the fact that obviously it was at the very beginning of an episode and it was like, oh man, there's a whole lot of episode left. There was a part of me that was like, I like this show enough. I like this world enough. I like these characters enough that, I'm okay to just kind of like, hey, if there's an extra 50 minutes of episode left and it really is just kind of, Mare coming to terms with the stuff with her son and everything like that, like, sure, that's great. But it would have been a murder that, from a thematic standpoint, wouldn't have really been sort of in line with what the show had been telling us it was about that whole time. Like, just like a dad protecting his, his own privacy and his own family and stuff like that. It's like, sure, but how would that tie into any of the other sort of like major themes outside of just kind of like, general, family stuff and general, but that's just, the show wasn't really about selfishness. The show was kind of about grace and forgiveness and mercy and kindness in the face of all these horrible things. So anyway, so I'm sorry, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I think there's a difference in a lot of shows between a great ending, a good ending, and just a straight up terrible ending. So thinking purely in terms of kind of like murder shows and stuff, I will be doing some spoilers here, by the way, about The Killing and about why am I blanking on the name of the show? I Hate the Sea, I Hate the Sky. Broadchurch, which is the English show. In The Killing, if you haven't seen it, that show sucked. And it's revealed in that one that the killer is just like some guy. Like, it was just kind of like, like, oh, okay, it was just one of the characters you introduced me to along the way. Like, okay, sure, it was that guy. I think it was like there was like a politician who like had an aide, and like that aide was the killer, and like it was sort of just like, oh, okay, sure. Broadchurch, and granted, it's been a while since I've seen Broadchurch, but I believe in Broadchurch it was revealed that the killer was the main detective's husband, and that was that was something that was very shocking. and didn't feel like unearned or anything like that, but it did also just kind of feel like, oh, okay, that was just like a thing that happened. The reason that the Mare thing was so good is, like I said, it 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 made sense within the context of what the show was trying to tell us the entire time. If it had been, Dylan, for example, it would have just been kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, it was a resentful boyfriend. That makes sense. If it had been Richard, who, by the way, I was like certain after the first episode, I was like, it's obviously Richard, right? But that was at the same time that like it seemed like it could have been like a serial killer who was doing all these things. It would have been like, okay, sure. But after like 2 or 3 episodes, like it became clear that if it had been him, that like, that would have been just not that would not have been satisfying at all. It would have just felt like a different show. It also would have just been like, okay, now we're just like layering pain on top of pain for Mare for like no actual reason. For one of the things I was thinking about just kind of throughout watching the show was, and and my wife can certainly attest to this too, was that as a parent of a son who, one of whom is 3 years old, and then another of whom is about to be 7 months old, is that the show, like as you were watching it, it was just sort of like, why do they keep showing me things that are breaking my heart about kids who are like so close to my own son's age? And then, add in the Ryan thing as well. And I mean, again, I don't have a 13-year-old yet, but as a parent, like it's so easy to think ahead to that time, and to think ahead to, how absolutely gutting and horrible a situation like that would be, and the extent to which you would go to protect your own child in a situation like that. And I would imagine that most people, when they saw that, Mare decided to, go ahead with, arresting the child instead of just, leaving it alone, that when Lori, absolutely flips out, at Mare in the car, like, and it's like, why, why couldn't you just, leave this thing alone? Like, we had already taken care of this. I think pretty much everyone would have watched that and been like, yeah, like why, why couldn't you leave that alone? But because that feeling that you had watching that show the whole time of like, just like, oh man, these, these sad, these, all these sad situations with these young boys, like the show had to give you one more. I guess I'll wrap it up here. I'm sorry, this was a bit of a rambling one. But yeah, generally speaking, I loved the show. I people talk about like, if there would be like another season. I don't think there will be, or at least it doesn't really seem like there should be. I mean, like I love the world. I loved, I mean, Jean Smart like is just so amazing. Kate Winslet I thought did great. But I think it kind of told the story it needed to tell, and it sort of feels like if they really kind of went back to that world, like I'm not sure what else specifically there would be left to discover. But hey, well, if the guys who made it think that there's more to it, then I mean, I would certainly watch it. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I apologize again. I know I was kind of rambling today, but I just wanted to make sure I could get something out. I'd love to know what you guys thought about the finale, assuming you watched the episode, what you thought about the reveal and everything. Yeah, and if you have any other thoughts on anything at all, leave a comment, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like and subscribe. I promise I normally do things a little bit tighter around here. If this is the first thing of mine you've ever seen, I'm very, very excited about my video coming out next week, and so you won't want to miss that one. That one's going to be real tight. Anyway, guys, I'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.